who I'm sure are more than willing to speak with you and field your questions and get you answers regarding those. But at this point in time, we're not commenting on the mall redevelopment because we don't have any more information than you do. So it would be inappropriate for us to do so at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems to be pretty much in keeping with the tone and the voice of my observations about where we are as a community.
Sir.
Can I have this entered into the public record?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Anyone else on this side care to speak? I see no hands. Okay. With that, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is old business. You see no old business to conduct. The next item is approval of the consent agenda. Any alderman wishing to remove anything from the consent agenda may do so at this time. Please let your light, and we'll call on you. Alderman Miguel.
Yeah, I'd like to remove the police and fire vehicles from the consent agenda.
Police.
Police.
Okay, and the fire?
Yes.
Okay, so the
police and the fire vehicle, the vehicles.
Yeah, the vehicle, okay. Both of those.
Both of them.
Okay, so the ordinance authorizing the purchase of 3 police vehicles and the ordinance approving the purchase of a, let's see here, of a used 2013 fire department vehicle.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Okay, I see no other lights. So I will ask the city clerk, excuse me, do I have a motion first from the board? A motion and a second for a first reading?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Do I have a motion and a second for a second reading?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Will the city clerk please read the titles twice consecutively?
Approval of the January 23rd, 2018 Board of Aldermen meeting minutes. Approval of the appointment of Roseanne Shannon to serve on the fire board. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2018 John Deere Gator from Herb Turf Equipment, Inc. in a total sum not to exceed $14,000 and designating the city's 1996 John Deere front mower as surplus property and authorizing the sale of the surplus equipment. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a Craftco crack sealer from Pavement Maintenance Systems and designating the city's current crack sealer as surplus property and authorizing the sale of the surplus equipment. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of an asphalt paver from CMW Equipment and designating the city's current paver as surplus equipment and authorizing the sale of the surplus equipment. An ordinance approving the purchase of a self-contained breathing apparatus from Sentinel Emergency Solutions in the amount not to exceed $110,000. I'll read the ordinance titles for a second time. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2018 John Deere Gator from Herb Turf Equipment in a total sum not to exceed $14,000 and designating the city's 1996 John Deere front mower as surplus property and authorizing the sale of the surplus equipment. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a crack sealer from Pavement Maintenance Systems and designating the city's current crack sealer as surplus property and authorizing the sale of the surplus equipment. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of an asphalt paver from CMW Equipment and designating the city's current paver as surplus equipment and authorizing the sale of the surplus equipment. An ordinance approving the purchase of a self-contained breathing apparatus from Sentinel Emergency Solutions in the amount not to exceed $110,000.
Before you take a roll call, is your microphone working? Could you speak closer to it? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Miguel?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Kennedy?
Yes.
6 ayes, the motion has passed.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is items removed from the consent agenda. So Alderman Miguel, I'll turn the floor over to you, sir, on the first one, which is the 3 police vehicles.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think I just, had I not brought it up, we would have a short
Being on record.
I'm sorry. Would you repeat that? Because I didn't.
Had I not brought up these 2 items, we would have had the shortest meeting on record.
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Simpson, what is the justification for 3 new vehicles?
Well, let me break my response into 2 components. There's two vehicles and then 1 vehicle. And I'll start with the 1 vehicle. The 3rd vehicle is to replace the police vehicle that was totaled within the last few months. I'm sure most people saw the stories about our officer that was involved in the head-on collision. That vehicle was totaled, has been out of service, and obviously needs to be replaced because we're down 1 vehicle. The other 2 vehicles are part of our standard 2 police vehicles per year replacement cycle, which allows us to keep our fleet in reasonably operable condition, reasonably good condition. Obviously, replacing them on a regular basis provides a couple advantages. 1, budget predictability. If we put off, say, replacing police vehicles for several years, there would come a year where we might have to buy 5 police vehicles in 1 year. And such a large expense is difficult to plan for because it is a very large expense. It's preferable to have a smaller expense every single year. It also obviously provides just a general better operating standard for the entire police department fleet. Things happen all the time that affect the operability and reliability of our vehicles, and knowing that any vehicle is not crazy old, isn't really, really old and in bad shape, allows us to provide a more consistent level of service. And then lastly, having a replacement cycle affords us the opportunity to receive a better return when we eventually sell those vehicles, as we do as part of our vehicle replacement program. So we receive a higher sale price than we otherwise would if that vehicle had been driven into the ground. We also have seen in recent years, because the board has seen fit to stick to a replacement cycle in recent years, we've seen a reduction in our maintenance and repair vehicle line items in various departments as well. Obviously not enough to offset the cost of a vehicle, but we have seen savings. We're buying fewer parts, we're spending less sending vehicles out, and so there is a savings that's not as visible, but is there.
That'd be the trade-in value.
And yeah, and I mentioned the trade-in value when we sell our vehicles at the end. Having new equipment offers safety advantages for our employees. I was told many years ago, before I came here, that there was a time when some of our police vehicles had holes in the floorboards and you could literally see through them. I heard the same about our salt trucks. Certainly that's not the type of city I think anyone on this board wants us to be. It's certainly not the type of city I want to run. I think our employees deserve safe equipment, and our residents deserve effective equipment in order to meet their needs.
Is that it?
I might think of more, but...
Okay. All right. And either you or Mr. Gillum, perhaps, the next question. What does the extended 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty give us that the 5-year, 100,000-mile drivetrain does not?
We're trying to make sure that we've got the entire
What does the bumper to bumper, what does that guarantee that the 100,000-mile drivetrain does not cover? That would cover air conditioning replacements, right?
Everything other than that.
And what is, give me the major things that it covers.
Well,
that is not covered by the drivetrain.
Transmission, and engine and transmission and all the other components. And part of what it is with the police vehicles, they don't operate just an hour a day. They are operated on 2 12-hour shifts a day. So they may be in service for 16 to 20 hours a day. And it's not always reflected in the mileage on the odometer. Typically, if your engine is running, whether it's moving or not, or if it's moving very slowly, like most of the streets in Crestwood are 20 miles an hour, it's still generating 38 miles of wear and tear on the engine and all the other components of the vehicle. So we were looking at some of the vehicles that we have in the fleet that have only 60 to 70,000 miles on them, but they have engine hours of 7 to 8,000 engine hours, which are like having vehicles that have 280 to 310,000 miles on them. And if we can cover all of the engine and all the components within a 5 years, 60,000 odometer mileage extended warranty, if there's any issues with those vehicles, then we can get those taken care of at the dealer.
Yeah, did you say it covers, yeah, the bumper covers what the...
It'll be everything.
The 100,000 mile, 5 year, 100,000 mile, that covers transmission, does it not?
It's the drivetrain.
Well, isn't that part of the drivetrain?
Yeah. But
So,
it won't cover the engine or the other components of the vehicle.
well, to me, that's part of the drivetrain. Is it not?
In some regards.
Well, what does Ford say? I mean, I've always understood it. Maybe I've always misunderstood it, but my understanding of a 5 year, 100,000 mile drivetrain guarantee, warranty, includes engine, transmission, rear end.
Then it will cover everything else on the vehicles.
So what we're getting for the $2,835 per vehicle, for $2,800, what we're getting is coverage on the AC unit, I guess the alternator, what other major components?
Every other component on the vehicle.
Well, name me a couple.
It's whatever all the other components are.
Okay, and in my opinion, it's not much more than what we've stated here. So I guess I failed to see the value in $2,800 per vehicle for 2 years, which covers only the AC unit, which does fail. Alternators do fail, but $2,800 cover at least two major repairs.
And we're just trying to, it's kind of an insurance policy so that we don't have those types of issues. And, you know, we're at a point where we, as City Administrator Simpson mentioned, we're replacing our fleet on a regular basis, and our maintenance and repair costs are going down, and this is an attempt to insulate those costs from going up as well.
Thank you. I guess my comment there is I don't think we're getting much for the $2,800.
Alderman, if I may offer a brief correction, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but the cost of the extended warranty is $1,870, not $2,800
per year. Well, you're showing 56. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. It's what? Give me the number again. I'm sorry.
$1,870 per vehicle.
I divided by 2 instead of 3. Okay. All right. Not quite $2,000. A number of years ago, hey, I forget how many times, Mayor, and you've been involved in many of them. I mean, I forget how many times this board, or at least I have been through this discussion. And I guess I really didn't hear anything new tonight, either from our city administrator or from our public works director as justification. I trust, I received I requested and received information on the fleet mileage, on mileage of our fleet. And I received that report on February the 8th, and I forwarded all the elected officials and our city administrator with a copy of that. So I'd like to talk to that particular table that I received with the mileage. If you to facilitate the discussion or understanding, I'll make reference to the vehicle numbers and the mileage. The vehicle that was wrecked, surprisingly, at least it surprised me, that it is the highest mileage vehicle in the fleet. It's a 2014 Explorer with 75,123 miles. I don't know if that would have been one of the trade-ins or not. There are two other vehicles which are older, and they're 2011s, Crown Vics, one with 69,000 miles and the other with 70. By comparison, as I stated to previous boards and elected officials, some of our, at least at the time that I looked into this, some of our neighbors get 125,000 miles on a vehicle. At the time that I did my study, it was Kirkwood and Webster were both driving vehicles with that amount of number of miles. You know, what happened, and that table kind of surprised me a little bit, because I thought the administration was doing a good job on implementing the plan that was kind of materialized in 2014, or going forward from that point. In 2014, in 2011, 27, was it not, Mayor? The city got 10 vehicles?
10 vehicles.
And those were 2007s.
That's correct.
Okay. And the last two of those on the list were retired here in April of 2017. One had 63,000 miles on it, the other one had 81,000 miles. When 10 vehicles were purchased in 2007, 10 vehicles in 2007, there were 5 or 6 vehicles, as I recall, that had in excess of 100,000 miles. And these were the old iron V8s, and you could see the exhaust when the officers would. We had a couple of heavy foots back then, but 105,000 miles. So I'm not talking about extraordinary usage here. I guess again, there were numerous discussions about vehicle. Back in the 2014 era, or in 2010, there was a fleet acquisition plan. It was somewhat, there were flaws in it, but one of the statements, and I'll quote, and the forecast was for a projected 84,000 miles for each vehicle when sold when it was 8 years old. An average of 84,000 miles when sold at 8 years old. That's a quote, page 6 from that fleet acquisition plan. To me, if that 75,000 mile vehicle that crashed that was the highest mileage vehicle in the fleet. Now, I can see I can see the request for a replacement vehicle if a vehicle like that had 30 or 40,000. But we're talking about a vehicle that's close to retirement now. And if that wasn't on the schedule to be replaced, then the two replacement vehicles would have been the 2011 Crown Vics, which have 69 and 70,000. And by the way, that vehicle that crashed, that was only 2 months ago. December the 17th, right? At least that's the notation, that information that I received. I think management did a good job when it again, the issue went back and forth a number of times. The acquisition plan proposed 15 vehicles, a 15-vehicle fleet. A number of the members of the board asked for a 10-vehicle plan. Both were provided. I put together a small table based on vehicle usage, which I've tracked from 2007 through June of last year, or June of 16. I argued that the city the department does not need more than 3 vehicles every 2 years, based on the miles driven, which in most years has been under 150,000 miles. That equates to 2 vehicles per year at 75,000 miles per vehicle. And the target in the plan was for, 84,000. Now, I think management did a good job of getting miles on those, on the cars. The 07s are gone. There are but 2 2011s left. If the city would want to keep those rather than trade them in June, it could hold off till December. Or it could put, there's a number of ways to compensate for the vehicle that was totaled. And based on miles alone, that would have been, that was easily the vehicle to be replaced.
So did you have a motion, Alderman Miguel, regarding this issue? I think we understand your point. I'm just looking for some resolution here, and you've been talking for 20 minutes, and it's way beyond what our current board rules allow, but I've allowed you to continue. So if you have a motion, I would appreciate it if you make that regarding this ordinance.
My preference would be to defer or table it, to table this until and possibly consider a meeting where to discuss this in more and to come up with some, take another look at what we're doing, I guess. With the odometer readings that I had for June of last year and the ones that I just got in February, I computed the average miles in 1 month, multiply that by 12, added up the numbers, whatever. The vehicle usage last year was under 140,000 miles. To me, there's just no justification for purchasing 3 vehicles at this time. The arguments that were presented, in respect, they just don't, there's nothing of substance there.
Point of information, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I had the time to do a little research while Alderman Miguel was speaking, and Mr. Gillen had stated that it was not strictly miles that were driven that they were looking at, but also engine hours.
Correct.
And Alderman Miguel said that both Kirkwood and Webster Groves drove vehicles to 125,000 miles, or at least they had the last time he did some research. One thing that I'd like to point out is Crestwood has 3.6 square miles, Webster Groves has 5.9 square miles, and Kirkwood is 9.25 square miles. So it's quite possible, with the same number of engine hours, that in Webster Groves and Kirkwood, more miles could physically be driven, and you'd still see a similar amount of wear on an engine based on what Mr. Gillen was telling us. That's all I wanted to point out.
Okay.
Thank you.
You still have the floor, Alderman Miguel.
Again, just going back a bit, as far as the maintenance is concerned, I pulled out the records. At one point, I asked and received all the maintenance records for all the vehicles. I forget exactly what year that was, but and I only recently bitched that, otherwise I would have brought it in with me. There was a transmission here and there. There was an air conditioner here and there. But there were the biggest maintenance factor of all, by far, was tires and batteries. That's what the majority of calls on the records that I received, and that was probably in 2007 that I probably did that. This is not a request. There is no need to purchase 3 vehicles at this time, other than perhaps to say that, well, whatever.
So Alderman Miguel, is your motion then to table the purchase of these 3 vehicles at this time?
Yeah, I would like to table this for this.
Okay, so your motion, okay, so let's take the other comments from the board, and then I'll ask for a second. Alderman Chardon?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Just wanted to run through a couple things here very quickly. City Administrator Simpson, most of the vehicles, although we do resell some of them, they are also put into use for other departments. Is that correct? I mean, we've done this in the past.
Jim, can you, I guess, explain and clarify what vehicles we may transfer within departments?
Previously, we've transferred them into Public Works, and Public Works has utilized them until they were sold. We currently have the code enforcement officer in one of the vehicles from the fire department, and we have previously had police cruisers for the project manager and the director.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, the 2, this chart I'm looking at, thank you, Alderman Miguel, for sending out this email. The chart that lists 12 vehicles, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that the 2 Crown Vics and maybe, just maybe, the one that was totaled might be the ones that are getting replaced. Chief, you mind answering that? Putting you on the spot here first night, sorry.
That is correct, Alderman Charbonneau. The two 2011s and the 2014 that was in the accident.
Are the two 2011s currently, do they match the rest of the vehicle? I mean, obviously they don't match the make and model, but their color coding, the uniformity, what do they look like?
No, they're Crown Victoria sedans. Both are navy blue in color.
Gotcha. And the rest of the police vehicles are, I believe, black and white.
They are black and white, and we've moved to all the marked vehicles being SUVs.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Chief. Alderman Gell, quick question for you, if you don't mind answering. I believe you were quoting, and I was trying to write it down, that previously the city drove the cars, I believe you said this was in 2010 memo, that 84,000 miles at 8 years old was the goal. That's correct, right? Is that what you were referencing?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So from what I've estimated from just the 2014 vehicles, we're putting roughly about 15,000 miles a year, which would be 5,000 more than that estimate back then. So we're actually driving the vehicles more in physical miles than what they were in 2010. If you put that pace at a similar time frame, we'd be at about 120 for 8 years. I think that you also have to probably account that maybe some of the reasons that some of the vehicles are up higher with mileage was that I distinctly remember that some of those older vehicles had a lot of major work done on them. So when the new line back in 2014, the two Interceptors and the two Explorers came on board, I think they had to be utilized more heavily because of the simple fact the other cars were not available due to all the maintenance work. I'm personally in favor of this proposal tonight to purchase 3 cars. One, it's a replacement of a vehicle that is totaled. It's not like it's just an additional request because we want to replace 3 cars, so it's really 2 in 1. But I also think it's important that we keep the uniformity of the department. I think it's important to have these vehicles because we recycle them through other departments when needed, and we can also sell them and make get a better return on our investment by replacing them sooner. I also think it's important to note that the new vehicles are a lot more fuel efficient. They make a lot more sense for the officers when it comes to doing their job, especially when it comes to the Explorer version. I know that speaking with the former chief, that the officers really particularly like the Explorer better than the Cruisers. That was made their, able to set up higher, see more, instead of setting lower to the ground. We're able to perform their job a little bit easier. So I am in favor of replacing the 3 vehicles, and I do not think that we should put this on hold. And also regarding the warranty, I think it's a good idea to have a bumper-to-bumper warranty, especially for such a minimal amount on 3 purchases of cars that will probably, could possibly be replaced even before that warranty's up, or at least recycled to another department. With that, I yield the floor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Alderman Wallach, you were next, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Again, thanks to the other aldermen's further questions and inquiries. A couple of questions that I observed. In 2014, again, we did purchase the 2 sedans and the 2 SUVs. And I thought when we purchased those 2014 units, they were going to patrol. Did they change, Chief Compton, in regards to the personnel again? When did they move to detectives on these sedans?
I believe that the 2014s moved to the detectives in 2016 when we bought those vehicles. I'd have to check that, but I believe that was the timing of it.
Okay, all right. Again, I'm not going to... I believe, if memory serves me right, the detectives were actually in the Crown decks prior to that. And again, I just, Tommy, I guess I looked off guard here in regards to when these vehicles went to the patrols and not the detectives. And to me, I just always been a detective in the Crown Vic. I don't know, maybe it's, I watch too many TVs. And I apologize for that categorization of it. But I recognize also the detectives may not put as many mileage on the vehicles, and so that's why I may tend to believe that it may be more curtailed to a Crown Vic rather than a sedan or an SUV unit. So the other unit, which is unit number 2362, number 9 on the list that was provided to us, again, administrative. Who actually is the driver of that vehicle for administrative?
That is the chief's vehicle currently.
Oh, okay. Right. Regards to the warranties on the units, my understanding again, it comes to a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty on it. And then I thought the powertrain warranty was 5 years or 60,000 miles. Is that correct when it comes to Ford, or is that a different powertrain warranty that comes with?
I'd have to look at it real quick.
All right. And again, some of the questions tonight, again, talks about the warranty on it. I do recognize it because I don't really opt for warranties on the vehicles, but on the same token though too, this is a $29,000 investment. If you're putting 20,000 miles on a vehicle on an annual basis, it's, you know, for a $29,000 investment, and when it costs is $1,800 some change, you may want to consider it if you're putting that many miles on the vehicle on an annual basis. So if you could just let me know, if again, the powertrain I think was 5 years, 60,000 miles on the standard Ford warranty. And if that's all it is, I'm almost tempted to agree to proceed with the warranty bumper to bumper. Although I do recognize, again, it's a $100 deductible in regards to that, but I think you'll save money in the long end. The other question I did have too, I believe years ago we probably had more personnel in our fleet department maintenance, but if you can maybe correct me out, how many people do we have in our fleet department now for the maintenance for our vehicles? One. I would like to say previous years we probably had more than that. So it may make better sense use that we may incur those warranties as we have limited staff in our fleets right now. Now, you the floor until I get maybe an answer.
Okay. Alderman Anderson?
I was trying to determine the same question regarding the warranty, what the standard warranty was compared to the other warranty. I was a little confused. I didn't know whether there was a standard powertrain warranty that existed, and as opposed to the bumper-to-bumper coverage. That was where I wasn't sure on that. Is that what Mr. Gill was checking?
I'm searching my emails too. I do not have that information.
No.
I think the warranty is normally 3 years, 36,000 miles, and you extend it to 5 years or whatever you want by paying additional money. So
that's what I thought, but I thought I was hearing that there might be 3 categories or 2 categories here: 36,000 for something, 100,000 for something, and then if you bought the bumper to bumper, it was another item. And I didn't understand that when I was reading through this. I thought it was just the 36,000 or the bumper to bumper for 100. So that's what I was trying to.
we can buy Kias and you get a 10,000, 100,000 mile, 10 or 100,000 mile warranty. Okay, so was that all, Alderman Anderson?
Well, the other question I had is, so next year as we go forward, we're buying, the plan would be you would replace 2 vehicles every year, so you would have you would be replacing 2, I would suppose, 2014s in 2019. So that was about the 5 years on the period for the extended warranty. So that's all.
And the board can always decide, you know, at the end of this year, if they want to change the fleet maintenance purchase program from 2 every 2 years to, 3 every 3 years. That's up to the board, but I think we did budget for these, and so this is not a unaccounted for expense. Okay. Okay, Alderman Miguel, you had the motion on the floor to table this.
Yeah.
Do we have a? I'm sorry, Chris. Could I make some? Mr. Simpson like to make a comment.
Mr. Gillen just informed me that based on what he was able to find tonight at the meeting, it appears that the standard warranty is 3 years, 36,000 miles, bumper to bumper, and that's that.
Right. And
There's no.
I printed out the warranty on the Police Interceptor 2018. 30 powertrain warranty, 60 months, 100,000 miles. Basic warranty, 36 months, 36,000 miles. Corrosion, 5 years, unlimited. So, I mean, if somebody wants to see it, I'd be happy to.
And that's through the government contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I just make a few additional comments?
Okay.
Okay. To address a point made by Alderman Charbonneau. Again, what I, based on the mileages that I have, three vehicles want 20,000 miles, less than 21,000 miles last year in the patrol. The two Crown Vics, one went 13,000, the other went 9,000. I can give you the mileage for each vehicle. The detective in the vehicles, they put on 3,000 to 5,000 miles. There's insurance is supposed to give us $15,000 according to the memo with this ordinance. Instead, what we're doing is we're going to be spending 20 more on a capital improvement fund, which is already $350,000 or $340,000 over budget, not counting the public works building. So there's an opportunity to reduce that deficit. And that 92,000, from what I can tell, eliminates the detailing, the conversion, because the basic price of a unit is roughly 28,000. We're asking. The 3 vehicles is going to cost 92,000. We're budgeted for 72. And it appears to me, and I could be wrong on this, but it appears to me that we were talking about 72,000 for 2 vehicles, and that included the changeover costs. And if it's 72,000 for 2 vehicles, it should be 108 for 3. Because of the, and I'm looking to me, it looks to me like what we did was eliminated the changeover cost. Another reason why I think this really needs a closer look. People gravitate to the new vehicles. That's just natural. I mean, that's just human nature. That's why management has to step in. This is not a. To me, this is a management problem more than anything else. Why the 2011s should not have been driven more than the brand new cars. But it's just natural for people to drive the newest vehicle that they can get their hands on. And I understand that. But still, to me, it's more of a management issue than anything else here. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, I have a question for you. From the standpoint of vehicles, when an officer goes out on the street, is he assigned a vehicle or told what vehicle to take, or do they just take the keys to whatever vehicle they want to drive?
The vehicles are assigned.
They're assigned?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Miguel to table this ordinance this evening for the purchase of the 3 police vehicles. Do we have a second? I hear no second, so we will move on. Do I have a motion and a second for a first reading? Do we have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, do I have the bill number, please?
1709.
Okay. Would you pass it down to Alderman Stetter? Alderman Stetter, if you do the honors, please, first reading.
Bill 1709, introduced by Alderman Statter, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 3 police vehicles with warranties in the total sum not to exceed $92,631.
Roll call.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Kennedy,
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Miguel,
No.
Alderman Anderson,
Yeah.
Alderman Walsh.
Yes.
5 ayes, the motion has passed.
Okay. Alderman Walsh, you have a question?
I did, just for clarity. I believe in 2017 when we purchased the Interceptors, the SUVs, the cost was around $26,000. This year, again, it's $28,500. So, again, if you wait and put off, those increases continue to occur. So that, again, that may help, place in perspective it is the cost increase. Is it worth waiting or not? So, let's go out there.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion and a second for a second reading?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Okay. The next item that was removed from the agenda was the purchase of the 2013 used fire department vehicle from Patton Fire Protection District in the total sum not to exceed $19,500. Alderman Miguel, you asked for that to be removed. Would you have the floor?
Thank you, Your Honor. The obvious question, why would the department want a vehicle with 86,000 miles on it? Why would the department want to purchase a vehicle with 86,000 miles on it? You can see we're replacing police vehicles with 70,000 miles and possibly even less.
Well, the main reason is the type of vehicle. And the type of vehicle is a much larger, much heavier duty vehicle than we currently have. The vehicle in question is a Suburban that is built on a 3/4 ton truck chassis. It is a Chevy Suburban 2500 heavy duty. The vehicle was built, I believe, to last much longer than that. The second and the most important part of that, I believe, is that we're interested in it not to be an everyday vehicle. It's not going to be a vehicle that's driven all the time. It's a vehicle that will be used a couple of times a month, and its main purpose will be to operate as our reserve vehicle. Currently, right now, if our rescue truck goes down, even for preventative maintenance, I do not have a vehicle that I can use in its place to run EMS calls. The current vehicle we have is a 2003 Chevy Tahoe that the condition has deteriorated so much that we cannot safely use it for emergency calls. So, based on the fact that we will not be putting a lot of mileage on the vehicle and the condition of the vehicle, which we determined by examining the vehicle, I took the city's fleet mechanic up to Pattonville. He evaluated the vehicle, he looked it over, tested all of the systems of the vehicle for approximately 25 or 30 minutes. Then we took it on a long test drive of about another 25 or 30 minutes. And we felt that the value of the vehicle was more than adequate. We really felt that it was a good buy for the condition that the vehicle was in. The high mileage, again, doesn't concern me as much as you may, for example, a frontline police vehicle, because again, it's a reserve vehicle. It's not going to be driven all day, every day.
Thank you.
Chief, can you answer a question as to the maintenance on that vehicle? Does it have relatively good tires? Or are we going to have to replace those? Does it have good brakes? Or are we going to have to replace those?
No, the Pattonville Fire Protection District has a mechanic on staff, and they have a very good vehicle maintenance program. And they have offered us all of their maintenance records for the regular oil changes and things of that nature. They actually just put 2 brand new batteries in it and 4 brand new tires on the vehicle in December. So again, that was the main reason why I took the city's fleet mechanic with me to evaluate it. And you know, in the memo, I put that it was in good condition. Honestly, I wanted to say that it was in very good condition, but I thought that I should temper, you know, my excitement, so to speak, at finding a vehicle that I really felt was a very good buy, but also would serve every need that we would have for it. And as far as the very good buy, I tried to really show that when the vehicle was purchased new in 2013, it was approximately $48,000. The Kelly Blue Book trade-in value or wholesale value on the car is somewhere between $20,500 and $24,000. And we're even able to purchase the vehicle for below that. So again, I knew the mileage would be a concern, and I imagined that I may even have some question from the board as to, well, if we're going to spend about $20,000 for a used vehicle, why not buy an Explorer brand new for $28,000? But some of the issues with that is the Explorers just aren't big enough to serve as the rescue truck. In order to do that, which we've had to do a couple times over the last couple of years, since 2015 when we bought the Explorers, we carry the basic minimum equipment to handle EMS calls and if we get a fire call at the same time. So it really was about what this vehicle had, what its capabilities would be for us.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Just also to let the board know, I mean, the plan all along in budgeting for this purchase was that we would seek a used vehicle. That was the only way we could fit it in the budget for 2018. I'll point out that we budgeted $25,000 for it, and we're buying it for $19,500. In deciding how much to bid on the vehicle, we felt comfortable going to $23,000, leaving us a cushion for any changeover equipment costs. So we're coming in well below what we had anticipated paying by about $3,500. So we really came out, you know, I think the best vehicle we could find in terms of what would meet our needs here. So we had something that was very specific in mind, and I think we were lucky to find it.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I do think it's important the Chief brought it up. It's very important to point out the fact that it is a bathtub rescue truck. And you know, when you first glance at this, you would think, well, why wouldn't we just purchase a new Explorer, lump it all in with the police department bid? But I think it's important to note that, you know, we've tried that, and Explorers aren't really big enough for a rescue truck. And I think considering the fact how many calls that our department goes out on, at any call, that rescue truck is out there first, I think it's important that we have a vehicle that's capable to provide the residents with whatever the department needs to deliver them the best services, the fine services that they do. So I actually commend city staff on coming under budget on this from what we've projected. And that's all I know.
Okay. Alderman Gell, did you wish to make another comment?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, all right. So, do I have a motion and a second for a first reading? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1710.
1710. Pass that down to Alderman Anderson, please. Alderman Anderson, if you would do the honors when you're ready.
Thank you. Bill number 17-10, introduced by Alderman Anderson, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2013 used fire department vehicle from the Pattonville Fire Protection District in the total sum not to exceed $19,500.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Miguel,
Yes.
Alderman Kennedy,
Yes.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson.
Yes.
6 ayes, the motion has passed.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Kennedy, would you do the honors, please?
Bill number 17-10, introduced by Alderman Anderson, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2013 used fire department vehicle from the Pattonville Fire Protection District in the total sum not to exceed $19,500.
Roll call.
Alderman Kennedy,
Yes.
Alderman Miguel,
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Statter.
Yes.
6 ayes, the motion has passed.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is new business. There is none. Next item is introduction of bills or future issues. Alderman Wallach.
Yeah, I think this should be a future issue. Back in 2016 or 17, we introduced a small business and entrepreneurial program or startup program. Maybe if we can have staff to let us know as to the current progress of that program, whether there might be any enhancements for maybe different industries to be added into that program. I know other communities have done that. Along with that, maybe another enhancement that I saw was whether you might provide small business to waivers to Crestwood residents for that program. So I'm just looking for maybe some other ideas to consider different industries into that program, or maybe again to keep it open to Crestwood residents who want to open up a small business for a program as well. And in fact, maybe just have staff provide us an update on that and his thoughts with regards to maybe enhancements to the program.
Okay. Got that?
Yes.
All right, sir. Okay. See no other lights. The next item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion and a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.